All right. So yesterday we took a little quiz on air masses, right? What are the air masses? Continental polar, continental tropic, maritime polar, and maritime tropic. So maritime means it's what? Moist. Okay, so it forms over, or it's found over water, right? Moist, wet. And then continental means it's dry and it forms over land, right? And then tropical means that it's warm, where Mrs. Ibarra wants to be. And then polar is cold. Then we talked about fronts. Okay, I'm going to keep bringing these back because these are super important. There are how many? Yep. Warm front. Stationary and occluded. Nicely done. Okay. Warm, cold, stationary, occluded. What does a warm front, what does it look like? How do we represent it on the map? Triangle. Semicircle. What color? Red. Close. We're halfway there. Remember, oh, I gotta play them Bon Jovi. We never played it the other day. All right. So, think. If it's hot or warm, what color? Red. Okay, so that's the best way to try to just think about that. And then if it's cold, it's blue. Okay? So think of an ice pack. Where do you put an ice pack? In a freezer. What color are they usually? Blue. Okay? So blue for a cold front, those are what? Triangles. And then the warm front, they are semicircles, right? And then what color? Red. Red. Okay? So a warm front means what kind of air comes in first? Cold air, cooler air, right? And then we get what kind of weather? Warm weather. And then in a cold front, what comes in first? The warm air. And we get what kind of weather? Cold, okay? Or cool weather. And then in a stationary front, we get what kind of weather? What's it like? Rain, but it's like a steady rain for a period of time, right? And what does the stationary front look like on a weather map? Yes, triangles and semicircles, okay? And they're on opposite sides, remember, okay? And then the last one is an occluded front. And an occluded front looks like what? Mrs. Ibarra's favorite color, purple. Okay, so it's purple, and what is on it? Same as everything else. Triangle and semicircle, right? And they are purple. They're typically on the same side. Okay. And what happens in an occluded front? What kind of weather? Warm, cold. Not there yet. So what kind of weather? Like what kind of air? Is it gonna be warm or cold? It's gonna be colder, right? So occluded fronts. All right, anybody questions on that? No? All right, so then yesterday we talked about 3 things. What were they? Huh? Tornado? Is that what you said?
Tornadoes, hurricanes.
hailstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes, and thunderstorms. Okay, so thunderstorms, what comes with a thunderstorm? Lightning, right? Lightning. What happens in a hurricane? Where does that form over? Over the water, right? Okay. Forms over the water. We're getting a remnant of one right now. Sally! We're getting a remnant of her today. Okay. So we talked about hurricanes. They form over water. They come with the high tide, right? We talked about the difference between low tide, high tide, right? And then we talked about tornadoes. They form over land, right? And that's all of the wind, and the hurricanes bring what? What do hurricanes bring? Huh? So what do hurricanes bring? A lot of what and what? Rain and wind. There you go, rain and wind, okay? So obviously we looked at the different scales for tornadoes and hurricanes, right? So the higher the stage, the worse the winds get. Then we talked about the eye. The actual eye itself is the what? But right around the eye, which I was talking about yesterday, is the what? That's the strongest part, okay? So the very center of the eye itself is the calmest, but that right around the eye is the worst, okay? Because that's, so wherever that hits, that's what's going to get the worst part of the hurricane, okay? So does anybody have questions about that? No? Not too bad. All right, so today we're going to talk about weather forecasting. We're going to go through this pretty quick. So there's not a whole lot to it. So has anybody ever seen a station model, like on the Weather Channel or anything? No? It's okay if you haven't. No? Nobody knows what I'm talking about? All right. So meteorologists collect data from all over the country to help them predict the weather. So remember, when we talk about weather, we're talking about what? Day to day, right? Versus climate, which we're going to get into after our test on meteorology, which happens over years, over time, okay? So the data is represented in what is called a station model. And this is comprised of symbols that stand for different things. So sometimes you can see them, like some of those symbols might be on my actual watch, or you might see them on your phone if you pull up a certain app. And they're comprised of the following things: temperature, dew point, precipitation, air pressure, cloud coverage, and wind speed and the direction of the wind. Okay, so this is what one typically looks like. So you'll see a circle in the center, and then these goofy looking lines up here, that looks like the letter F. This shows you the wind, okay? This is your sea level pressure. The pressure trend. This is the actual dot, that's the sky coverage, so the cloud coverage, so it'll show you whether it's completely cloudy, partly cloudy, not cloudy at all. Over here you'll find your dew point, and then this talks about the weather, and then your temperature is next to the wind. So when you see the wind, this is showing you the wind, the direction. So once you collect all the data from all your station models, you can put them together and you can form what is known as an actual weather map. Okay, and I'll show you this in a minute. So we've already talked about isobars and isotherms. Remember when I had the map pulled up when we saw the circles, and you actually had to do one of those as an assignment. So we talked about how close they are together or how far they are apart. So if they're closely spaced, the isobars, then that's increased wind speed. And if they're more widely spaced, then that is a calm wind. Okay, closed circles are areas of high or low pressure. So on your map that you had to do the other day for practice, there was different numbers on there, right? And you would have to look at the numbers to determine what? Get the third thing on there. The areas of what and what? The higher low pressure, right? So if the numbers are higher, it's going to be high numbers, so high pressure, right? Lower numbers is going to give us the lower pressure, okay? Then there are what are isotherms, and those are what connect the points of equal temperature. Thank you. So isobars connect what?
Connect points of equal pressure.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Connect points of equal pressure.
Okay. And then the isotherms show us, okay, so temperature versus pressure. Okay? So up here, this shows us some average temperatures, okay? And then down here, this is what one of the maps kind of looked like that y'all had, right? Where you had to do the high and low pressure, show me where rain would be and where snow would be. Looks similar to this, yes? So weather maps also tell us where fronts are moving, and that's why we recapped those again this morning. So we've got our cold, warm, occluded, and stationary. So this represents what? Just this. H. Okay, and the L would be low pressure. What about this guy right here? Can everybody see what that is? It is a triangle and a semicircle, and it's purple. That's occluded front, right? What about down here? We've got some blue triangles kicking. That's the cold front. Up here, you've got alternating red semicircles, blue triangles. So this would represent stationary. And then there's a piece here, a piece over there, but these, see how these are shifting? So this is occluded, that's turning into what with the blue triangles? Cold front. And then this, we can't see the other side of it, but it could either be a warm front or switch to a what if it's half and half? Well, this is cold, so this is either going to be a warm front or a what? Stationary. But we can't see what's happening over there, right? Okay. So, does anybody have questions about that? Huh? I'll help you when we're done. Okay. So then this tells you, similar also to what we did on our map the other day, where you might see snow, okay, or you might see rain, thunderstorms. So this is what weather maps can show us. The next thing we're going to talk about are some weather instruments, and we've talked about a few already, a hydrometer. So first, we've got a barometer, and we talked about these. What does it measure? Air pressure. Okay, so we've talked about the barometer. Next is a psychrometer. We've seen this before too, wet and dry. What is this? Measures the relative humidity. Then we've seen this one too, the hydrometer. This measures just humidity. Next is a rain gauge, and this is measuring what? Precipitation. So rain, okay? Then we've got a thermometer, which measures what? Temperature, that's the easy one. An anemometer, and that measures wind speed. A wind vane, we've all seen a wind vane before. A lot of times they have them on a barn, right? What does that measure? The direction of the wind. So these instruments typically measure conditions in the lower atmosphere. So speaking of atmosphere, we talked about the different layers. So what one is the closest? Yep. the troposphere, okay? So there is, a radio tonight is a weather balloon with instruments that are actually attached. So what do you think they would use this for? What would you use this for? It's a weather balloon with different instruments attached to it. So why would they send that up?
Air pressure.
Okay, air pressure. Keep going. Look down here. Temperature, humidity. Okay, so all the things that we were just talking about. Okay, so they put these on here, and then the balloon is able to go up, and then they can measure all of the things that they're looking for to be able to put on a weather map. Okay. So there are also what are known as satellites, and we've seen and heard of satellites before, yes. Okay. These can be used to determine weather conditions in the upper atmosphere. So as we start moving through the atmosphere, we go from the troposphere to the stratosphere to the, what's the last one? Thermosphere, sorry. The masks, they really get us, I'm sorry, okay? So here's another picture of a map. We can see areas of different pressure, right? With our isobars, our isotherms show us what? Isobars are our pressure, and then the other ones are? So that's what? What's hot and cold? Deal with. Yes? Specific. Temperature. Temperature, sorry. I can't hear with these masks. Okay. Also, we've got our station models up here. So these lines show us the wind, right? Okay. The circles show us the cloud coverage. And then you've got your fronts. So this is a what kind of front? Blue triangles. Cold. Warm. Stationary. There you go. Nicely done. Okay. Does anybody have questions? This is super short and sweet.